Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host, with another marvelous video. This time, top 50 space horror movies of all time that will shake you to the core. Mankind has managed to explore every corner of the Earth, but the endless boundaries of space still remains a blank state of bewildering terror to many. The curious are always drawn toward the unknown, and the unexplored is bound to be terrifying. Something about space is morbidly horrifying. It might be the inherent isolation and loneliness, or perhaps the entire concept of cruising past the entire galaxy whilst being stuck inside a man-made vehicle with the potential to suffer an external damage is simply unsettling. The exploitative corporations, the evil spirits, the deadly creatures, and the toll that these high-pressure circumstances that prevails on the character's mental health is not for the faint of heart. So, time to buckle up and hop on the scary ride to the top 50 quintessential space horror movies that are bound to shake you to your very core. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Alien, 1979. This movie has set a proper standard and tone as a claustrophobic space thriller and jump-started a whole franchise that has a cult following to the present day. Ridley Scott made this roosty science fiction horror film based on a story written by Ronald Shusett and Dan O'Bannon. The movie is set in the distant future and follows a commercial spaceship called Nostromo. When a member of the crew answers to a distress signal, they come across a very strange and bizarre spaceship on a moon that's yet to be discovered. The film's tale of terror unravels when the crew of the ship discover that an extraterrestrial creature has also boarded their vessel and has been creepily stalking the members of the crew ever since their return. This creature was aggressive, eerie, deadly foreign, and set off a chain of terrifying events for the crew on the ship. The tension mounts when the crew members try every possible way to figure out how to kill this lethal alien before it can kill them. The movie has an outstanding cast, including the famous Sigourney Weaver, and a very strong script. The special effects and the brilliant designs really made the film a timeless space horror masterpiece. Compared to the 80s science fiction films, the originality of Alien really set it ahead of its time.
Stay down, Shasta! Just stay down!
Pitch Black, 2000. Pitch Black 2000 is Van Diesel's magnum opus and jump-started the entire Riddick franchise. This space-oriented science fiction action horror movie is directed and written by David Twohy. The role of Richard B. Riddick as an anti-hero was his first role as an actor, and definitely paved his way to stardom. This legendary criminal had his eyes operated so he could see in the dark and made his eyes shine. Unfortunately, this procedure made him extra sensitive to light, which came as a devastating issue when the ship he was being transported in with other criminals crashed on a strange planet with 3 suns, which caused constant daylight. This enjoyable movie turns more engaging when an eclipse approaches the planet, but with a life-threatening drawback of a brutal attack from foreign creatures called the bioraptors that are so notorious that they come out with full force and eliminate all lives on the planet in one sweep. The plot thickens when the stranded criminals rely on Riddick for their survival and work together to get out of this morbid situation. Pitch Black has managed to set its tones with a very smart use of dark and light within its shots. The cinematography and special effects of the aggressive and bloodthirsty predatory creatures lead to countless mind-boggling set pieces.
Oh shit!
Event Horizon, 1997. This futuristic movie's plot is set in the year 2047, where a team of astronauts embark on a rescue mission after a starship named the Event Horizon goes missing. The story deepens when Neptune shows the inherent sign of the Event Horizon orbiting around it. When the ship is finally retrieved, they find the entire crew's remains along with a very troubling video series from the ship's captain. When the crew of astronauts are haunted by strange and unusual hallucinations, they comprehend that a gateway has been created within the bounds of the ship, which leads to another dimension that almost resembles hell. The plot goes full gore and blood when the entire crew slowly descends into insanity, to an extent that they consider choosing to kill themselves over returning back. This space science horror movie was directed by the famous Paul W.S. Anderson and initially received a lukewarm response from the audience, but later wound up having a cult following after its DVD release, as it perfectly blended the idea of a cosmic hell with horror. Even to this day, the film is heavily referenced within a few notable works of pop culture pertaining to the genre, especially due to Anderson's excellent organization of well-utilized snippets to slowly unfold the world beyond. Event Horizon acquired very positive user reviews for its well-curated mix of survival, atmosphere, horror, and suspense. Back in the 90s, the movie managed to bridge the gap between the unreality of science fiction with its touch of natural possibilities. Thing, 1982. This science fiction horror film is originally based on a John W. Campbell Jr. novel from 1938 by the name Who Goes There? The story arc of The Thing documents a troupe of American researchers in Antarctica who come across an unusual shape-shifting parasitic extraterrestrial entity which first assimilates its victim and then imitates other living organisms. This eponymous alien-like thing overruns the group with conflict and paranoia when they learn that anybody could be infected by the thing and they can't trust anyone from the crew. What followed later were gory visuals of the monstrosity that the thing showcased through its prey. Before the thing came under director John Carpenter's wing, it went through a plethora of writers and directors, each with varied ideas on how the pre-existing story following the thing from another world should be explored. Makeup effects creator Robert Bottin and his humongous team used a mixture of chemicals, rubber, mechanical parts and food products to bring the thing to life, an iconic humanoid capable of taking on any form. Although the film's VFX and the practical effects are not everyone's cup of tea, and are definitely not a soothing visual to the stomach, the grim tone, the screenplay along with the visuals weighed in perfect balance to make this underrated, misunderstood art a masterpiece, recognized during the correct time period.
Reason immediately.
Fire and oxygen guarding.
Sunshine, 2007. Huge success films like Solaris and Alien inspired the plot of Sunshine, 2007, where a group of extremely charming astronauts are sent to space when the life-threatening news of a dying sun in the distant future of 2057 wreaks havoc. Their job on this quest is to reignite the dying sun, but this is interrupted when they respond to a distress signal from a spaceship that mysteriously disappeared on mission almost 7 years ago. The team starts turning on each other, and this disagreement interrupts their mission when they're torn between the pressure of rescuing their fellow astronauts or fixating on their mission to save the sun. This visual feast has been directed by Danny Boyle, who curated an impeccable cast starring Chris Evans and Cillian Murphy. The distinctive part of the movie would be when, as a form of method acting, these actors were made to live together in order to understand the gravity of the plot and learn the technicalities of their roles. Sunshine tenaciously explored the subjects of science and religion as a whole, and what set it apart was the fine execution of the plot unraveling as the crew fell prey to morbid fates on their effort to complete the quest. The cinematography intricately covered the glory of the sun and the details within the glimpses of the planets. The top-class production design and eye-catching special effects is what kept the audience heavily engaged, not to mention the mind play of darkness within the character's conscience. It's definitely all worth the hype for its unforgettable climax and a sinister mix of slasher horror with philosophical musings. Aliens, 1986. It's a rare occurrence when a sequel exceeds its original in a movie franchise. Alien 2 is a sequel to the 1979 classic space thriller Alien. The movie is directed and written by James Cameron and is set in a distant future where the plot revolves around Ellen Ripley, played by none other than Sigourney Weaver, who was the only survivor of an extraterrestrial attack on her spaceship, the Nostromo. When she loses all forms of communications with a human-owned colony on the moon where her deceased crew first spotted those alien-like creatures, Ellen Ripley readily agrees upon returning to site, along with a unit of the Colonial Marines to further investigate the situation at hand. To this day, Aliens 1986 is considered as one of the greatest movies made in the 80s, as it marked a bar for space horror and set a very high standard. Cameron made sure that from the beginning to end, the entire movie was a thrilling joyride which made a mark in the hearts of critics as well as the audience. Furthermore, this movie also earned an Oscar nomination for Sigourney Weaver for her role as Ellen Ripley. This movie is highly celebrated for its futuristic plot with back-to-back, earth-shattering action sequences and crazy roller coaster storyline. There's never a dull moment with this one.
It's behind you!
Life, 2017. Life is a space science fiction horror trope directed by Daniel Espinosa, mapping 6 brilliant astronauts of the International Space Station returning with a sample of soil from Mars, and they make a shocking discovery upon testing it. The soil had traces of a strange foreign organism that harbored the ability to morph into a full-blown monster from a simple gelatinous object. Later, it was discovered that this entity is the reason behind the extinction of all life on Mars. This alien was unpredictable, fast, hostile, aggressive, and deadly. The plot thickens when the crew members are forced to battle this extraterrestrial monster, thus resulting in a very effectively squirm-inciting killer climax. The entire fiasco of humans trying to outwit and destroy an advanced and fast-paced alien is what makes the chaos in this movie hauntingly beautiful. Life stands out for its cinematic brilliance and engaging storyline incorporating gritty scenes, gruesome tone, dark battles, and very shocking ending. Starship Troopers, 1997. This 1997 science fiction space horror is directed by Paul Verhoeven, where in a not very distant future in the 23rd century, the Earth is being governed by a very militaristic and strict United Citizen Federation, as extremely evolved and advanced Klendathu arachnids threaten the safety of the entire solar system. Johnny Rico, a high school athlete, joins the military along with 3 of his friends to serve the cause. The plot thickens when humankind colonizes and explores outer space so as to secure the future of humanity when a full-on invasion begins. Here, simple conventional schemes and plain brute force isn't enough to stop the hostile extraterrestrial. When an interstellar war sparks with the arachnids, the plot unravels if Rico and his Starship Troopers excel over them or simply serve as cannon fodder. The intense battles, the action sequences brimming with gore and blood, and the interesting satirical elements is what makes this movie so engaging and mind-thwarting. Pandorum, 2009. The plot of Pandorum revolves around an interstellar ark embarking on a voyage to another planet from Earth, with 60,000 people aboard. When 2 of the crew members find themselves stranded on a spaceship, they come to the horrifying realization that they're not really alone. In another similar instance, 2 astronauts rise from a hypersleep chamber within the boundaries of an abandoned spaceship. They're completely disoriented and have zero memory of their existence or identities. Everything else is pitch black and all they can hear is a creak and a low rumble coming from the belly of the spaceship. While they venture deeper into the spaceship, they slowly unravel a horrifying reality where they find more people aboard, but they're strange and not the most welcoming kind. The plot thickens when the spaceship's deadly and shocking secrets are revealed, which makes the astronaut prioritize their own survival more than anything else. The movie's title refers to a form of psychosis that originated from a fictional illness related to deep space. This rare illness affecting the characters is called orbital dysfunctional syndrome and leads to delirium, paranoia, and nosebleeding. This German-British space science fiction trope was directed by Christian Alvart and is ridden with elements of survival adventure and Lovecraftian horror. It's brimming with action-packed sequences with crippling horrors of the loss of reality and chaotic creatures culminating in an earth-shattering life-and-death fiasco.
Помоги мне. Ну вот я тебя люблю. Но любовь — это чувство, которое можно...
Solaris, 1972. This Soviet space science fiction drama trope is directed by the legendary Andrei Tarkovsky. Some debate that one of the most horrifying entries is using the term horror to define this cerebral science fiction tale. The plot involves the Solaris mission where psychologist Chris Kelvin finds himself in a space station that orbits around the planet Solaris. During his time at the base, he sees a very uncanny farewell message from a prior occupant who seemed to have committed suicide. Chris begins seeing things, and things become intolerable when he's greeted by his dead wife of 10 years. The other 2 scientists on the station are extremely cold, distant, and secretive. The movie plays around with the concept of existential dread and the unexplored nature of extraterrestrial intelligence. Solaris is widely celebrated for its powerful and pure horror sequences. The entire movie is a mind-boggling attempt at manipulating its viewer, where one feels that they're experiencing the movie from within the other side of the screen, which truly makes it a piece of art and a timeless movie for all eras. Gravity, 2013. Gravity is written, directed and produced by celebrated Mexican filmmaker Alfonso Cuarón and stars George Clooney and Sandra Bullock. The plot involves a medical engineer who's on her first ever space shuttle mission alongside a veteran astronaut who's left stranded in space after their space shuttle suffers a sudden mid-orbit wreckage on their attempt to return back to Earth by a high-speeding debris. This leaves the rest of their crew dead and they themselves without any communication to Earth. The plot thickens when the protagonists find themselves spiraling out into the morbidity of the darkness, tethered to absolutely nothing but each other. The film received its much-deserved appreciation for 90 minutes worth of intricacies of space shown through visual effects. Furthermore, Cuarón delectably demonstrated the hopelessness of floating around in outer space supported by the inherent lack of gravity. Gravity manages to transport its viewers to a glimpse of experiencing the endless expanse of the vast galaxy, where being isolated equals death. This psychological nightmare holds the capacity to induce anxiety in its viewers through the hauntingly magnificent terrors of space. Anura, 2018. Anura is a space science fiction movie released in 2018. It was directed and written by Hugo Lilia and Pella Kagerman. The film is set in a dystopian-ridden distant future where the Earth is being haunted by the repercussions of a devilish climate change, compelling people to mass migrate from Earth to the red planet of Mars. Amidst a routine trip, Anura, on one of the spacecraft, deviates off the course and is sent back in time, where all the passengers who are obnoxiously consumption-obsessed struggle to cope up with their new lives and contemplate their existence in the universe. Anura is appreciated for its bleakness and its portrayal of utter devolution caused by getting lost in space. Moon, 2009. Moon is a science fiction space trope revolved around an astronaut named Sam Bell, whose 3-year contract with a certain lunar station is coming to an end. He was responsible for harvesting helium-3 from the Moon and returning it back to Earth for being turned into a clean fuel. His only companion in this journey was his robot, Gertie. When Sam's health condition is faltering post a near-fatal accident, he makes a shocking discovery of another individual on board with him at the station, and ironically, it's someone who identically resembles him. Moon, 2009, is Duncan Jones's directorial debut and is anchored by beautiful penmanship and terrific acting. This suspense-filled movie with larger-than-life ideas is a slow burn to its viewers. With its morbid setting of a sporadic white facility, the plot dives right into the haunting loneliness of solitude within the endless boundaries of space. It's bound to make you pause for unsettling questions and the mind-thwarting results of artificial intelligence. Moon really shows the intrinsic idea of being a human in a world dominated by artificial intelligence.
Don't ever touch me.
Apollo 18, 2011. Apollo 18 is set on the premise of the year 1974, where 3 astronauts were tasked with a classified assignment. While on their quest of collecting samples of moon rock, they stumble upon a stranded space capsule with the last remains of an eerie cosmonaut. The movie is shot in a found footage style as the plot involves a cancelled Apollo 18, which actually at the end of that year, but unfortunately never really returned, due to which the United States never launched another expedition back to the moon. All was fine until the recent discovery of the lost footage. On the other hand, the astronauts are faced with super creepy incidents post their discovery of the cosmonaut and are pressured with having to figure out how to return to Earth safely. Apollo 18 dialogues are truly commendable and have beautifully portrayed the feeling of claustrophobia alongside the chaos of bleakness associated with the plot. The movie's alternate historical storyline is an absolute treat for space fans, especially for people crazy about moon landings. High Life, 2018. This non-linear narrative-oriented space science fiction trope has been directed by Claire Denis and adapted from her debut book. High Life focuses upon a crew of criminals who are being sent on a space mission pertaining to several scientific experiments toward the black hole. Although it seems that the setting is at the present, it takes place in a distant future beyond the solar system. These criminals are the prime subject of a human reproduction experiment, which makes them land on an array of inexplicable situations post a storm attack of cosmic rays hitting the ship. What makes the movie stand out is its analytical arc on top of the space adventure. Europa Report, 2013. This 2013 American space science fiction film is written by Philip Gelat and directed by Sebastian Cordero. This is also a found footage film that recounts a space exploration company privately funding a space mission, where they send a team of astronauts to Jupiter's moon in search of any signs of life. Even though the crew faces a disastrous mechanical failure and a lot of other challenges that cause them to lose all communications with Earth, this weaves a series of unfortunate crises, but the crew still continue with their mission to Europa, the Galilean moon of Jupiter, and discover something extremely strange and unusual on their voyage. Europa Report is a believable science fiction flick known for its perfect balance of a chastised special effects and intricate storyline. The movie incites emotional stakes and makes one root for the characters. It's beautifully interwoven with interstellar study and escalates the horrors of the unknown. Oxygen, 2021. Oxygen is a French space science fiction horror movie which was initially released on Netflix and revolves around Liz Hansen, who woke up from a deep hypnosis without having any recollection of how she got herself in that situation. The air-sealed cryogenic unit that she was stuck in had the suffocating size of a legitimate coffin. The plot thickens when her oxygen resources begin to steadily deplete and there's nothing apart from Milo, the pod's artificial intelligence state-of-the-art bot that she could rely upon for piecing back the fragments of memory she has and rebuild her almost blurred identity. Liz is trapped inside this pod and she can't move, whereas her oxygen level has only 90 minutes before it completely gives out. Is Liz consumed by this claustrophobic nightmare, or did she pave her escape route to life? The plot intricately toys over these mind-numbing grounds and is directed by Alexandra Ager. Oxygen is truly celebrated among fans for its suspense build-up and brilliant plot execution. Stowaway, 2021. When three astronauts embark on a journey to Mars for a very dangerous mission, they find a stowaway on board just a short while after taking off. With the quick dwindling of resources, they're too far away from Earth to turn back, but it gets very intense when there's not enough oxygen for an uninvited guest on this spaceship. When the group consensus had already agreed in favor of a morbid outcome, the spaceship's medical researcher seems to be the only person to emerge as the voice of dissent. With the stowaway engineer aboard, two of the crew members are compelled to go on a death-defying walk through outer space, where they discover the horrifying darkness on Mars from a distance. Stowaway has been written and directed by Joe Penner and initially released on Netflix. This space science fiction adventure drama has intricately incorporated several nerve-wracking stressful sequences that have both the astronauts and the audience holding onto their breath. The situations create a tumultuous pressure that can be felt to the very core. Alien 3, 1992. Even though Alien 3 is a fascinating mess, it's still worth taking a detour towards it with an open mind. It was viewed as a failure back in 1992 because it followed the legendary Alien and Aliens in the franchise. But time has grown kind towards it, as it's now approached as an interesting alternative to the Alien format. Naturally, bad things happen when Ripley and an alien crash land in a penal colony full of the worst elements of society. Although there are a lot of chase scenes at the end, the story maps up itself to be pretty intriguing. The unique idea of being able to outrun and outleap humans by a considerable margin makes the alien in this sequel quite different from the ones we've already witnessed before in chronological order, making it appear a little less terrifying than the original alien we first encountered. Alien 3 is directed by the very famous David Fincher, and as the third installment from the Alien franchise, this movie is a gentle space horror that really grows on you over time.
Smith, tell me something. Says it hit 600.
The Cloverfield Paradox, 2018. The third installation from the Cloverfield franchise is set in a near future when there's soon to be an energy crisis on Earth, directed by Julius Onah. Following this, a crew of multinational scientists test the Shepard particle accelerator at the Cloverfield station, with the goal of producing energy for all nations and resolving the global energy crisis. When the experiment fails, it destroys the station and creates a portal to a parallel Earth in a completely different dimension. In addition to this, they discover a woman entangled in wires behind a station bulkhead and find out that she was employed by a Cloverfield station identical to the one in this dimension. The plot thickens when the scientists are compelled to figure out how to get back to their own dimension. Even though the movie is connected to the previous Cloverfield series, this story arc on Paradox is contained and has incorporated a brilliant execution of its science fiction tropes. Overall, the Cloverfield Paradox 2018 has been a crowd pleaser and has incited a few very intriguing fan theories. 2001, A Space Odyssey, 1968. This epic space science fiction horror trope is directed and produced by the legendary filmmaker Stanley Kubrick. 2001, A Space Odyssey, 1968 is a tale of evolution set in a different timeline when someone or something prodded evolution by putting a monolith on Earth in the distant past and probably in other places throughout the universe as well. Then, thanks to evolution, human beings were able to travel to the moon's surface, which allowed them to make a further discovery of a monolith that served as a reminder to the monolith places that humanity had advanced that far. Now, humankind must dare to confront the monolith places with the help of artificial intelligence, like HAL. If they manage to succeed, they'd successfully advance humanity toward whatever stage of evolution it may be. This movie has made its marks as the greatest film of all time, and it's a true piece of art loaded with special visual effects. It peaked for its adventurous exploration and for creating the greatest artificial intelligence, which is relevant to this very day, 50 years post its release. 2001, A Space Odyssey is celebrated for its accurate depiction of spaceflight, ambiguous imagery and pioneering visual effects. The use of conventional narrative and cinematic techniques were fully avoided by Kubrick. He used long, interesting sequences and sparing dialogues. In its final moments, the movie reflected the signs of innate humanity where, for the first time ever, we witnessed a natural lifelike connection between man and machine. War of the Worlds, 2005. The War of the Worlds 2005 is a science fiction space adventure movie which revolves around a simple ordinary man who's compelled to stand up against deadly extraterrestrial Martian invaders in order to protect his children. When a divorced dock worker from New Jersey discovers that a fleet of death ray robotic spaceships have surfaced nearby as part of the first wave of an all-out alien invasion of Earth after a series of strange lightning storms strike his neighborhood, protecting his children at all costs become his most challenging priority. The plot thickens when Ray is naturally driven to be the protector and provider he never was in his marriage. How Ray saves his family from giant war machines wreaking havoc and unites his children with their mother is definitely an emotional roller coaster awaiting its viewers. The War of the Worlds even won an academic award for its special visual effects and was celebrated for its intimidating appeal, which was unraveled in perfectly balanced fragments. It's worth noticing that the movie is a Tom Cruise starrer and is directed by the world-renowned filmmaker Steven Spielberg. The Midnight Sky, 2020. The Midnight Sky is a space science fiction adventure drama directed and starred by the devilishly charming George Clooney. The plot revolves around a man who's stranded all by himself on the Arctic Ring. Post a catastrophic disaster on Earth, almost everyone has been evacuated from the planet except for him, who was left behind due to his fatally declining health. Here on the Arctic Circle, he makes a shocking discovery of an interplanetary spacecraft named Ether, which was returning back to Earth from Jupiter's moon, which was under habitable conditions. The crew from Ether are still unaware about the population wipe on Earth, and the plot thickens when Augustine Lofthouse, the protagonist, is tasked with a failing mission of making contact with the crew of Ether in order to help them return back to Jupiter. The distinguishing factor about this movie would have to be pristine visual effects, the outer space scenes that were very carefully crafted, and Clooney's commendable acting. The movie failed to perform too well at the box office, but nevertheless received an Oscar nomination. The cinematic techniques in this movie, along with the special effects and CGI, successfully managed to pull off the space scenes and the post-apocalyptic scenes very beautifully, and the production team also came up with a beautiful set that made the movie look very believable and elegant.
Perfect!
Alien Resurrection, 1997. The Alien saga continues as 200 years later, Ellen Ripley had sacrificed herself for the well-being of humanity. The United System Military, or the USM, make an attempt to clone Ellen Ripley as she's the all-rounder one-woman killing machine. All hell breaks loose when post the cloning it's revealed that her DNA is somehow fused with the Queen alien, and somehow all the aliens escape the premises. The plot thickens when Ellen Ripley is plagued with the dilemma of with whom her loyalty lies. The most distinctive part of the movie would have to be the combat scenes, where the crew of space pirates and Ripley herself fight off the aliens, and overall, it's a movie worth watching. The fourth installment of the Alien franchise was directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet in a quite interesting way. Some of the shots were executed flawlessly, such as the one where the camera slowly zooms down the throat of Purvis and we get to see the baby alien hatching inside, and the CGI aliens were commendable as well, especially in the underwater chase scene. It's been fondly appreciated for being such a power-packed, adventure-filled science fiction action space film. Predators, 2010. In the movie Predators, we see a group of elite and merciless killers being dropped off in an unknown planet filled with extraterrestrial monsters, and now these 8 people have to fight these monsters off in order to survive. They have some pretty experienced combatants such as a Russian Spetsnaz, a samurai, an IDF sniper, a mass murderer, a warlord, and so on, and we get to see these skilled people defend themselves against the vicious occupants of this unknown land where they've been dropped off. The distinctive part about this movie would certainly have to be the creation of these warthog-type looking creatures that inhabit this planet, as they look menacing and possess some capabilities that prove to be horrifying for this group of people later on in the movie. The movie Predators did pretty well at the box office and was also nominated for a bunch of awards, out of which it did win a few. The technique of execution in this movie is really distinctive, as it shows us the point of view shots of the Predators, and we actually get to see the world through their eyes and see what they see, and the special effects used in this movie really complements the cinematography as well. The Wandering Earth, 2019. The Wandering Earth is a famous Chinese science fiction movie set in mainland China and starts off by showing that the Earth is in grave danger as the sun is rapidly expanding and will inevitably destroy the planet Earth soon if nothing is done about it. The leaders on Earth have devised a plan and equipped the planet with 10,000 engines in an effort to propel the planet out of the solar system and find a new, safer, celestial home. A group of heroes emerge during this 2,500-year-long arduous journey that are determined to make sure their fellow beings are safe from a variety of unknown enemies and threats and ensure the survival of mankind. The most unique part about the movie would have to be the stunning visuals in some of the scenes, such as the scene where the Earth is shown next to the planet of Jupiter, which really show us how much work actually went into the making of this movie. The splendid cinematography of the movie successfully recreated the vivid scenes described in the story by Liu Cixin in his story, and overall the movie was a visual feast for the viewers, and it certainly did justice to the story it's based on. Overall, the movie has no space for disappointment at all.
Dr. Willits?
Doom, 2005. The 2005 movie Doom is inspired by the video game of the same name, and the movie shows a group of US Marines called the Rapid Response Tactical Squad. In the year 2046, a portal to the planet of Mars has been found in an American desert, and RRTS is sent to Mars through the portal as there's been a level 5 security breach. Upon reaching there, the group finds scared humans. They get to know that the Martians were superhumans as they developed an extra 24th chromosome that made them so, but it also made them into monsters. Now we get to see the RRTS squad in combat with these superhumans from Mars. The distinctive part of the movie would be the action in this movie and fight scenes of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Pretty awesome to watch, and overall it's a fun movie worth watching. The movie didn't do too well at the box office as it failed to even recover the production cost of the movie, but that doesn't automatically make this a bad movie by any means. The visuals of the movie are pretty epic, as it vividly captures the action against the Martians, which, by the way, is a great sight as well. Alien Covenant 2017. Alien Covenant is a prequel to the movie Prometheus, and the story is set 10 years after the incident shown in Prometheus. The movie starts off with the scene of an accident on the colony ship Covenant, which is headed to a remote planet. The captain of the ship, Jacob Branson, suddenly dies in hypersleep, and Oram, the second in command, has to take over despite his capabilities being questionable. The crew that's now awakened is highly demoralized and wants to take a risk and get to a nearby planet, sending a distress signal instead of going back to hypersleep and risk having another accident. But this leap of faith proved to be a bad decision for them, as this planet was filled with creatures trying to kill them. To their relief, albeit momentarily, comes David, who had settled here on this planet after the climax of the first movie. Now the question is, can Oram and Daniel now save the crew from this deadly alien force? This movie is a pretty unique one, and it's definitely worth a watch. The cinematic techniques were by far the best part of the movie, with incredible lighting and so much detail into the greenery-filled atmosphere of the planet, and also the CGI used in the movie is commendable on its own. Color Out of Space 2019. Color Out of Space is a science fiction horror movie that came out in 2019, and it's based on the short story The Color Out of Space by H.P. Lovecraft. The story is based in the mythical town of Arkham, Massachusetts, where the Gardner family has just arrived, leaving behind the hustle and bustle of the city to live the ideal country life that many yearn for. The Gardner family has 5 members, Nathan and Teresa, and their 3 children, Benny, Lavinia, and Jack. The family experiences a very weird and rather horrifying encounter one night when a meteor strikes their front yard, as although the meteorite gradually crumbles apart, it caused some sort of otherworldly genetic mutation on everything around it, such as the family's crops, their commutation systems, and, most importantly, on the Gardner family itself. This unearthly mutation soon starts spreading all around town, and although the children Benny and Lavinia are aware of all that's happening, they're powerless against this unknown horrific effect. The unique selling point of the movie would have to be how the director and producer managed to pull off the interpretation of a novel on screen. There are a lot of science fiction movies that have failed for not being able to match the expectations of the audience after reading the descriptions of an author in the novel, but somehow Stanley and the whole team has managed to bring the novel to life and do justice to it. The cinematography in the movie is quite unique as it involves some major challenges, such as achieving an unnatural and otherworldly color scheme for the scenes, where the author had described it as just a shade that was never seen before on the normal color spectrum. Predator, 1987. In the raving 80s, the Predator franchise was nothing but a breath of fresh air in the monotonous sci-fi genre, where movies of the time seemingly focused more on the science part of the plot rather than exploring the thrills of action. Predator set itself apart with the deconstruction of various tropes in action films. The film starts with a group of badass paramilitary hunks on a mission where they strike and kill efficiently, without remorse. don't feel an ounce of fear and throw hilarious punchlines and one-liners while doing it. As protagonists of a typical 80s action movie, these men are portrayed as an unstoppable force of nature until a lethal predator appears in the picture and takes them on with full force. This rendered our group of heroes cornered and helpless as no amount of resources, be it military training, advanced weaponry, or even bravado, stood a chance in front of this predator, who's far from being human. All of them are eventually overpowered by the predator, until only the one who merges as one with nature and plays the exact same field as that of the predator is successful in defeating him and survives out of this grand fiasco. Arnold Schwarzenegger has honestly carried the entire weight of Brilliance, and to this very day, the conflict of the plot remains engaging, appealing, and epic until the very end, as it elevates the heroes, only to bring them down by an inhuman force of extraterrestrial beings until they find a way to its inevitable demise. Hence, this one from the Predator franchise is what weaved the cult following, and is definitely a must-watch.
Heads up!
Prey, 2022. The story is set in 1719 in the northern Great Plains of North America. We follow the life of Naru, an extraordinarily talented and fierce individual from a tribe of the Comanche Nation. She's determined to prove her worth to her peers to join the ranks of the tribe's warriors. Specializing as a tracker and healer, Naru has always stayed in the shadow of her highly skilled hunter brother, Tabe. She continues honing her combat skills and finally gets the opportunity to shine when a mountain lion attack brings their attention to something far more sinister and threatening. Ready for the call of duty, Naru sets out to defend her people. The prey she faces turns out to be a highly developed extraterrestrial predator with a technologically sophisticated weapon arsenal. Does Naru stand a chance against Predator using her sharp wit, or will the creature get the best of her? Prey is an amazing watch, and the movie has successfully and cleverly weaved several storylines together to add a formidable addition to the plethora of movies featuring Predator in a similar genre. The cinematography is breathtaking, and the storytelling makes you care quite deeply and profoundly about the characters of Naru, her brother Tabe, and their dog. It's a very intriguing watch, and its brilliance can catch you by surprise.
Are you ready?
Nope, 2022. Set in Santa Clarita, California, we follow the story of Otis and Emerald Haywood, who are animal wranglers by profession. They are unable to maintain the funds required to keep their family ranch afloat after their father passed away in a freak accident caused due to some random objects falling from the sky. When Otis believes he's had a close encounter of the first kind, his initial shock gives way to morbid fascination. Unaware that danger is building, Otis, who's struggling to make ends meet, makes a deal with Jupiter's Claim Amusement Park's owner, Ricky Park. Without thinking twice, Otis enlists the aid of renowned cinematographer Antlis Holst and the tech-savvy Angel Torres to create history. But the intrepid explorers will see the true nature of this extraterrestrial being the next time the visitor comes back. A visual spectacle, this movie is highly entertaining to watch, and the actors have done a marvelous job in their portrayals of the characters, ranging from feelings of grief to have their big break, only for their hopes and dreams to be shattered by the morbid reality. This movie brings out a range of emotions that keep the viewer encapsulated. The story is original and creative, and the storytelling is creepy and suspenseful, while the score makes you feel chills, which makes it a captivating movie.
You are special.
Brightburn, 2019. Kyle and Tori Breyer's dream of having a baby and starting a family comes to a joyous end when their struggle with infertility is halted by the arrival of a mysterious infant boy. They name him Brandon as the boy grows up, and he turns out to be the perfect child for them. He's shown to be intelligent, talented, and quite a prospect. However, as Brandon grows up and becomes a teenager, horrible darkness materializes inside him, and Tori starts to have profound reservations about her son. Those closest to Brandon are in for a world of pain and terrible fate after he starts acting on his reprobate tendencies and explores his powers for personal affirmations and not for the general good. Attempting to explore a fascinating concept, this movie consists of great scenes which are further enhanced by the fantastic actors playing those characters. The movie doesn't attempt to boggle your mind or leave you senseless after a watch. In lieu of that, the film depicts everything clearly and gets the point across in a concise and direct manner. Featuring outstanding special effects, surprisingly gory sequences, an amazing soundtrack, and a great ambiance, this movie is sure to entertain you for its entire runtime. Quiet Place, 2018. The movie is set in a post-apocalyptic world, with the devastated Earth being overrun by seemingly invincible predators of extraterrestrial origins. We follow the story of the young Abbott family, who are unaware and uncertain if any human apart from them is even alive or not. Their lives are in constant danger as even the slightest noise can attract the unrelenting threat of the monsters. The tenacity and resilience of the Abbott family allow them to survive for 12 months after the initial sightings of the creatures. Learning the fundamentals of existence in this subdued dystopia is essential. The Abbotts must remain silent now, more than ever. An intense thriller, this movie keeps instilling a creepy sense of being unsafe as the viewer witnesses the Abbott family do their best to survive in a world devoid of any sense of security. The foundation of the concept that making even the slightest of sounds can get you killed is harrowing to think about. The actors have done a fantastic job of showcasing this fear, which increases the entertainment value of the movie by a mile. The movie is filled with tropes, but the timing and execution of said tropes are nailed to perfection. With a combination of great cinematography, amazing storytelling, and the fact that the story is predictable and unpredictable at the same time, this movie is a must-watch for fans of the genre.
Rory!
The Predator, 2018. A soldier named Quinn from the Army of the United States is scarred for life after his near-death experience and the casualties of his whole battalion due to a close encounter with a terrifying predator. Surviving the ordeal with a slim chance, the soldier accidentally makes his home a new battlefield by collecting evidence on the existence of the predator. Unwittingly making his son a target for the genetically enhanced predator that now walks the earth, Quinn creates a new platoon of misfit soldiers who each specialize in a unique trait to try and take down the predator that haunts the life of his son and subsequently humankind itself. In addition to the classic genre of humans versus the predator, this movie adds much more flashiness in its portrayal, a lot more action and better cinematography to an all-time classic. There are moments where the script will make you feel a bunch of emotions, like making you laugh and being appreciative of the action sequences, even if it is quite simple to begin with. The story is straightforward, and critics claim that the movie is a mixed bag. For fans of the Predator and the genre in general, it's an entertaining watch if you close your brain off and just enjoy the theatrics in front of you. Alien vs. Predator. A search team made up of the best archaeologists and engineers is dispatched to Antarctica to find out more when a private satellite discovers an unknown source of heat there. The source of the heat emanation proves to be a pyramid buried deep beneath the surface of Antarctica. Fascinated by the cavernous chambers, the crew explores its depths. Inspecting further, the team takes note of the evidence that suggests that the area is populated by an unidentified extraterrestrial species. The aliens don't take long to start looking for and hunting the team members. At the same time, 3 coming-of-age predators arrive to take the aliens' skulls as trophies. The humans are then engaged in a terrible conflict between the 2 overwhelmingly powerful warring species. A monster action flick in the most literal sense. This movie is a spectacle for any fans of either the Alien or the Predator, or both, centered more to be a family watch. This movie has significantly less gore than its predecessors in the Predator genre, but the action sequences still contain captivating choreography, and the cinematography isn't to be scoffed at either. With great designs and an intriguing storyline, this movie is an entertaining watch, and one would enjoy it from start to finish if they don't expect jump scares or scenes that give them chills.
Shit, there's something in there.
Attack the Block, 2011. The movie follows the story of a gang of teenagers based in South London, an area notorious for people being unhinged and out of order. After the gang mug a lady during the night, they witness unorthodox fragments of something unknown falling from the sky. After a series of unfathomable scenarios, the group unwittingly make themselves the target of a possible alien invasion and provokes the extraterrestrial being to attack. These tough individuals are now forced to form an unlikely alliance to try and defend their turf from these unwanted, savage and deadly visitors. Following this, a lowly apartment complex in South London is transformed into an intergalactic war zone. An unexpected gem in the genre, Attack the Block is a definite watch for people who prefer light-hearted scares in a movie with good storytelling, great acting, and amazing cinematography. The characters are pretty cliched and don't receive much development throughout the movie, but the depiction of such a generation of teenagers is done masterfully. The special effects and the makeup teams have done a fabulous job in ensuring the designs of the aliens are fresh and unique. Overall, this is a very delightful watch, and if you're looking for a quirky and fun movie about aliens, well, this is definitely the way to go. The Darkest Hour, 2011. Sean and Ben are two American software designers, and they set out to Moscow to pitch their program to possible investors. However, their Swedish business partner deceives them, and his shenanigans put them out of business. To drown their sorrows, the two visit a nightclub and meet some friendly faces. The populace is startled by a barrage of lights in the night sky, which they misidentify as natural occurrences. But when the horror reveals its true face, they realize that aliens have finally decided to invade the Earth and aim to completely eradicate humankind using their own power supply against them. As they venture out on the streets, they face the uncertainty of being the last ones alive as the aliens hunt them down. One of the major selling points of the movie is its originality. Sure, the movie evolves itself through certain tropes that have been associated with the genre as a whole for years now, but the presentation and the overall ingenuity of the movie are worthy of applause. One of the most unique aspects of the movie is the design choice for the aliens. They're not your typical run-of-the-mill alien designs. Rather, they're shown as bodiless masses of light. Overall, it's a great movie recommended for everyone seeking new thrills in the genre of aliens invading Earth while we follow the story of the handful of survivors.
I don't know. I think they're getting confused.
Dr. Banks.
Arrival, 2016. Set in the United States, Montana, the world is taken by storm after the unprecedented initial first-hand encounters of humans with extraterrestrial life forms that have visited the Earth. With 12 simultaneous contacts with the aliens, the panic-induced government enlisted the aid of various experts, including renowned linguist and dialectologist Professor Dr. Louise Banks and theoretical physicist Dr. Ian Donnelly. Their task is a seemingly impossible one where they have to decipher a cryptic back and forth with the extraterrestrial visitors to understand their motives and determine whether to consider them as a worldwide threat or not. If all efforts at communication fail, a practical but crucial concern will surface. Does mankind have sufficient verbiage to comprehend the aliens' response before a new world war breaks out? An extremely thought-provoking, well-constructed and engaging film. Arrival is a masterpiece that'll leave its viewers bewildered. The movie is grounded in reality and adds an element of sci-fi horror on the premise of impending doom. The foundation for the main characters to solve an impossible task with limited time on their hands has been portrayed perfectly. With great special effects and well-thought-out characters, this movie is a must for anyone who enjoys creativity and an overwhelmingly emotional backdrop. This movie is not just a masterpiece, it's an achievement that establishes what creativity mixed with talent can result into. Slither, 2006. The tranquil South Carolina village of Wheelsy is struck by a burning meteorite as it falls into the dense forest. A stealthy extraterrestrial invasion begins when the burned rock reveals its covert composition, a dreadful parasitic organism. Grant, a local businessman in the town, is the tragic battle's unfortunate first casualty as he slowly but surely transforms into a grotesque monster. Grant's wife Starla begins to notice that something has been eating him from the inside over the past several days. No one is safe right now before the inexorable alien invasion, and to make matters worse, Grant's metamorphosis is nowhere near completion. Who's going to be able to fight off the slithering alien army and save Earth from a transformed Grant? A horror movie made by horror fans for horror fans. Slither encapsulates the essence of what makes horror films perfect, with suspenseful scenes that'll keep you on the edge of your seat to gory visuals and unsettling, horrifying aspects of the aliens invading Earth. Slither is a complete movie and leaves not much to complain about. Although the designs and ideas of the movie are relatively more trope-like than other mentions in this list, the overall sense of enjoyment that a fan of the genre would feel from this experience is one of the highest. The movie has some comedic sequences as well, which will make you indulge even further with the characters. With great cinematography and even better execution of the storyline, this is an experience that you shouldn't miss out on. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. Set in San Francisco, we follow the story of a public health inspector named Matthew Bennell. One day, Matthew is reached out by a troubled woman who states that her husband has been acting weird, and his mannerisms seem strange and uncanny. Enlisting the aid of psychiatrist David Kibner, Matthew is told that a bunch of his patients have been claiming that their significant others have been acting bizarre and don't appear to be themselves. Matthew, unable to reach a conclusion, chalks it up to public paranoia until his friends find a partly formed corpse. They quickly learn that people are being replaced with precise replicas of themselves that are devoid of emotions and lack feeling. This movement to replace each and every human continues with no understanding of how to stop it. An intense movie with some great performances, Invasion of the Body Snatchers is a complete movie with nothing else left to demand. The cinematography is polished and well thought out, with striking visuals excellently complementing the story. Featuring great actors such as Donald Sutherland, Brooke Adams, and Jeff Goldblum, among others, this movie is filled with star-studded performances from extremely talented individuals. This movie is a remake of the original, and it successfully sets a benchmark of how a remake should be made. Under the Skin, 2013. Set in Scotland, we follow a strange young woman who prowls the streets of unsuspecting neighborhoods. In reality, she's an extraterrestrial entity that's taken the shape of an earthly being in order to deceive the people and hunt humans to reap the benefits of their bodies. She seduces abandoned and alone men and lures them into an ethereal realm where they're stripped and eaten. However, the alien visitor starts to alter as a result of its existence on Earth in all its complexity. She starts to accept that she's a person, and accepting her humanity has terrible and horrifying repercussions. With a bunch of critics citing this movie to be an unforgettable experience, you're sure to have a great time watching this masterpiece. Surprisingly, Under the Skin was a box office failure, but don't let the statistics fool you. This movie is a bizarre but mesmerizing experience with a twist on an age-old trope. The visuals are fantastic, and the cinematography is unparalleled. The film is filled with night shots with perfect lighting that adds to the gloominess of the whole ordeal. Overall, this unique and artistic movie experience is one that you shouldn't miss out on. Vivarium, 2019. A primary school teacher, Gemma, and her boyfriend Tom aspire to start living well and want to purchase their dream home. Seeking some professional insight, the two are paired up with Martin, an eerily creepy real estate agent. They follow his lead to the idyllic suburban development neighborhood called Yonder. The area is filled with pastel-colored, affordable, but almost identical houses. One in particular, house number 9, proves to be something much more than promised. As the two find out if it is the ideal single-family home, they're trapped in a surreal, maze-like labyrinth of a nightmare. Will they be able to escape this hell, or will it change them forever? Vivarium is a movie that has tons of untapped potential. Untapped because the foundation was fabulous, and the final result is still nothing to be scoffed at, but it could have been something so much more. Still, it's an absolutely amazing hour-and-a-half watch that'll leave you with a bunch of questions after its runtime. The movie is filled with comical scenes that, instead of ruining the atmosphere, make way for the forthcoming despair and horror. Overall, this movie is just shy of a masterpiece, but an interesting addition nonetheless. And of course, the whole experience is enhanced significantly due to it featuring great acting from the likes of Jesse Eisenberg, Imogen Poots, and Jack Hudson. Sputnik. Set in 1983, during the unnerving times of the peak of the Cold War, 2 Soviet cosmonauts are set to make their return back to Earth after a long mission in space. Unfortunately, the mission goes awry as something unknown goes wrong on re-entry, and their spacecraft crash lands back on Earth. It's revealed that out of the 2 cosmonauts, one has died, and the commander's mental state is rampant. The Soviet authorities call in a fearless, groundbreaking doctor to evaluate everything, and it's clear to him that the commander has brought with him a parasite of extraterrestrial origins. The doctor then tries to decouple the alien parasite from its unsuspecting host, but even she's not ready to face what awaits her. Sputnik makes sure that it sticks to its roots from start to finish. It's a high-quality flick made for entertaining you for its entire runtime. It's a visual spectacle with a bone-chilling storyline that'll definitely exceed your expectations. The special effects are great, and the storytelling will captivate your full attention throughout. The only thing keeping it grounded is the choices that the protagonist makes, because one could argue that a scientist of their caliber would never make such decisions. But that's a minor gripe against an overall amazing movie. Village of the Damned, 1960. On a fateful day in the small village of Midwich, California, all the denizens of that area, even including the animals, faint under unknown circumstances at the same time. This caused a plethora of accidents and caught the attention of authorities for the strange and bizarre occurrence of such an event. Following this, all of the people and animals reawaken, but with one major difference. All the women are pregnant, even if they're teenagers. Perplexed, the townspeople hold a meeting to decide what they should do, where they're tricked into conceiving the babies in hopes of being granted funds from the government. With the babies now growing up, the parents realize that they have some dark powers inside them, which can prove fatal for the entire state, or maybe even more. The movie has the essence of being a classic horror flick from the 60s, which adds an endearing factor to the overall experience. It's definitely stood the test of time, and as the years pass, the movie has become more and more appreciable. It had a remake made in 1995, but the original is still one of the best to come out of the 1900s. Despite this movie being a small-budget film, the creators and the talent behind this masterpiece have done amazing work that will take you on a sci-fi adventure of its own. For any fans of the horror genre, this is a must-watch as an all-time classic. Killer Clowns from Outer Space, 1988. On a fateful night, an alien spaceship disguised in the shape of a circus tent makes its way to the surface of the Earth. Nobody in the vicinity takes these aliens from space seriously when they attack a small village and start slaughtering and kidnapping the locals. Why? Because the aliens have painted smiles over their faces and all have the appearance of circus clowns. They also carry a weapon arsenal that resembles clown-like and unthreatening weapons. Only a small number of the town's youth are aware of the threat, and of course, no one believes them. Regardless, they do their best and attempt to save their friends armed with only an ice cream truck. Will they be able to combat this extraterrestrial threat, or is humanity doomed to die at the hands of these clowns? Ridiculous and over the top, Killer Clowns from Outer Space is a hilarious movie with dark undertones. Throughout its runtime, the movie toys with your expectations. The clowns' designs are heavily exaggerated, and everything that makes a clown scary is amplified. The plot is creepy and unsettling from start to finish, and due to all these factors, the movie received cult status some years ago. For fans of bizarre and twisted horror films that exceed expectations, this movie is an absolute must-watch. The Mist, 2007. The unsuspecting small town in Maine is the victim of a tremendous storm, and the next morning, a misty fog can be seen settling in. With the fog descending at a rapid pace, several individuals, including artist David Drayton and his 5-year-old son, become trapped in a nearby grocery store while the unstoppable mist envelops the area. The locals quickly learn that there are a variety of terrifying, otherworldly species living in the mist that came through an interdimensional rift presumably brought on by a project on a nearby military camp. The terrified population struggle valiantly to survive this post-apocalyptic catastrophe as the world around them transforms into a genuine version of hell on Earth. The Mist is an atmospheric nightmare that capitalizes on various fears that people have. The special effects, the cinematography, and the direction are all spectacular and add so much to the experience. Instead of providing the viewers with jump scares, The Mist focuses on realistic examples of fear and how to exaggerate them as humans face forces beyond their control. The ending of the movie is what makes it unforgettable. It's one of the most heartbreaking and depressing endings to a horror movie ever seen. The script is exactly where it needed to be to make this movie a masterpiece, and we highly recommend it to anyone who's a fan of the genre. Altered, 2006. The lives of a group of 4 men are changed forever as they're scarred by their abduction and subsequent death of their 5th friend at the hands of a terrifying alien race 15 years ago. Now deciding that the path they want to go on is revenge for ruining their life, they're able to hunt down and apprehend a lone alien. Their whole world shifts as they learn more and more about the horrifying capabilities of the creature in front of them. The reign of terror starts as the varmint uses its abilities to wreak mayhem upon its captors and fulfill its urges to perform sinister and insidious activities around them to no end. They have only a few hours to choose between murdering the monster and damning the human race or releasing it, and one of them may be the only hope for both his companions and his own species. Altered is a brilliant movie that, in its limited runtime, ensures that not even a second of it can become boring for the viewer. Consisting of solid performances from the whole cast and great shots adding to the environment of the entire movie, they've done a great job at making this sci-fi horror one of a kind. Including scenes of gore and great special effects, it's a delight for every fan of the genre and one that you should definitely not miss out on. Extraterrestrial, 2014. A group of 5 friends head to a cottage in the woods for a relaxing weekend trip, but their fun is cut short when uninvited extraterrestrial guests show up. This unexpected meetup quickly turns into a battle for survival for the humans as they face something far beyond human capabilities. A flickering object crashes deep in the forest, awakening the group from their trance. The group discover an extraterrestrial spaceship while doing their investigation, and it appears that its occupants haven't landed peacefully. The group then witnesses a plethora of unfathomable scenarios as they're terrorized by these unfriendly alien creatures. Extraterrestrial hasn't had the best reception ever since its release. Despite the cliches and some drawn-out individual scenes, the movie is a surprisingly great one-time watch for people who appreciate stereotypical creature-slasher storylines. The ending also leaves the viewers on a sort of cliffhanger, as it paves the way for a sequel. The movie focuses on being an entertaining watch more than it being a disturbing horror flick, and it does that brilliantly. Featuring some great performances and amazing visuals, it's definitely a movie made by exceptionally talented people. Disregard the absence of brilliance, and this movie will surely be worth your time. Communion, 1989. A writer with a family of 3 vacations with friends in their opulent log house outside of town in the United States of America. A surprising sequence of events starts to take place as they all settle in for the evening. Everyone is awakened by lights that are so dazzling they're like the feeling of looking at the bright sun directly with your eyes. The next morning, their companions are so frightened that they convince the writer's family to quickly take them back to town. The writer's family returns to their log holiday house for the Christmas holidays after their October experience with their friends, and they once more encounter strange nighttime lights. It's more and more challenging for them to determine what exactly occurred. All the people dig deep in trying to understand what they've all experienced. Was everything a hallucination? Was it an external force acting up, or were they just going mad? Communion is a star-studded movie with the likes of Christopher Walken, Lindsay Krause, and Andreas Katsulas, among many others. With great performances from each of these talented actors, this movie can be an entertaining watch without the plot being great. But in reality, the story is exceptionally well written, and the amount of weird and uncanny instances in the movie would drive one to insanity. One has to experience the film for themselves to believe what they're watching and try to make sense of the madness. The movie is appropriately crazy, and it does a great job of knowing what it is. Fire in the Sky, 1993. The movie reenacts the bizarre events that took place in the little Arizonian hamlet of Snowflake on November 5, 1975. Travis Walton is a government-employed logger in the White Mountains. After work, he and his friends are driving home when they come across a flying saucer. Travis is curious and gets out of the truck to investigate and is hit by a beam of light from the object when he does. Travis vanishes without a trace throughout the course of the following 5 days, and his co-workers are charged with murder. At first, when he returns, he has no recollection of having been gone. But eventually, Travis is able to figure out the mysterious ordeal, and the dreadful memories return. Functioning more like a drama for the first half of the story, the film is a captivating sci-fi horror that leaves the audience bewildered. Featuring great design, stunning special effects, and beautiful visuals, Fire in the Sky is a complete movie overall. It doesn't dwell deep into the science fiction aspects of the story, but the amount that it does well. The cast has also done a marvelous job, and their performances can leave one highly satisfied. The movie is kind of a hidden gem in the genre and deserves more praise.
Let's go.
Alien Abduction, 2014. We follow the story of a family who goes on a camping trip while their 11-year-old autistic child uses a camcorder to document the whole experience. Instead of experiencing a fun and happy time, this unsuspecting little family has one of the most ill-fated trips imaginable. Exposed to a bunch of strange activities that seemed paranormal at first, the family soon realizes what they've walked into. Instead of encountering bugs and living amidst nature, the family confronts malevolent aliens and lives with the fear of death at every turn. Will they be able to escape, or will they also be victims of these villainous aliens? The setting of the movie is Brown Mountain in North Carolina, where several people have actually reported seeing luminous lights. Because strange sightings have been reported in this area for years, Alien Abduction has an extra edge of horror. The writing of the movie helps in enhancing the experience tenfold as we follow the story of a normal, everyday family which encounters things beyond their imagination. They make the choices that are most grounded in reality and do things that most average people would do if they ended up in a scenario such as this. Don't Look Up, 2021. Kate, a student of astronomy, finds evidence of an unknown comet. According to Dr. Mindy, her lecturer, the asteroid's track overlaps that of the Earth, and that impact will occur in around 6 months, eradicating all life. To submit their results, they go to the White House. The White House, however, has different ideas and is attempting to intimidate Dr. Mindy and Kate. Taking the responsibility of educating and subsequently saving humankind upon themselves, the two take extreme measures. Nothing actually changes despite their efforts to inform the public through a television program. They'll soon learn why no one is interested in what they have to say. This movie is painful to watch, not because it lacks any sort of factor that makes it an incredible film, but because it highlights how stupid and insignificant humans are. In today's day and age, this movie does a great job of showcasing how ignorant and unapologetically delirious we've become. The film is filled with dramatic and comedic scenes, which make it a complete package. With unparalleled talents such as the likes of Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence and Jonah Hill, among many others, this movie is filled with top-of-the-line actors who deliver outstanding performances. The film is almost perfect and is definitely going to be an entertaining watch, and one shouldn't skip it. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe. Thanks, everyone.